think for a moment of all the things you do in your life, and if you think for a second, you will realize that basically everything that you do boils down to either increase your happiness or reduce your suffering. And if we define happiness as the absence of suffering, then everything boils down to suffering. So all what you do in your life boils down to reduce suffering or eliminate it from your life. So suffering is an incredible important concept, and today I want to discuss why suffering comes from and how you can get rid of it. So again, if you think for a moment, and that's what we're going to do here, is to notice that suffering can be reduced again or boils down to attachment. And attachment usually is associated with relationships. However, I want you to become aware that you can become attached to anything. For example, you can feel attached to, of course, relationships, partners, friends, your family, your career, your identity, what others think of you, your ideas, your worldviews, your ideologies, and to your identity. Also animals or things, material things, experiences, drugs. You see? So, what is attachment? And I have a little story how I came to this topic, because I was walking one day a couple of weeks ago, and I saw a woman walking with her dog, and the dog wants to do his thing, like walking, playing around the trees, while she was grabbing the dog, trying to follow the path. And then I wonder myself, like, why we need to control everything. Of course, I'm not saying that she shouldn't control the dog, but somehow we humans have this obsession with controlling everything. Have you noticed that? And control by itself is not the problem. However, this compulsive need of control is what I define or call attachment. Is when you cannot let go of this sense of control. So, as I mentioned, controlling itself is not the problem. After all, we as human society, we made a lot of progress by controlling stuff, like controlling, I don't know, the weather, not controlling the weather, but monitoring the weather, or controlling our environment, modifying the environment so that we can survive and thrive. So there is nothing wrong there, even though we tend to abuse of that, as you can see with how our environment is nowadays. However, when we try to bring this need of control to our personal life is when it doesn't work, as you can see everywhere. And the problem is that controlling gives us a false sense of security, because I don't know, you may be married or have a girlfriend, a boyfriend, and especially if you're married, this gives you a sense of security that the other person cannot run away, right? Or you may have a nice career and a stable job and feel secure with your economic status, or how other people perceive you because of your titles. But this is all impermanent, because even if you're married, doesn't mean that your wife, your husband can leave you any day, or of course we will die anyway, so doesn't matter how many marriages you have. And with your career, you may be fired even if you are doing the best job, because I don't know, your company goes broke or the economy goes south, you see. So, and there is a catch-22 here, because a lot of this stuff, like a good relationship, a good career, when we don't have it, we feel that something is lacking in your life, and we suffer because of that. However, when we have these things, we suffer because we are attached to it and we fear losing them. So no matter if you have it or you don't have it, the problem still is there. So either you are attached to not having the thing or to having the thing. So that's a pretty bad situation to be. So why do we get attached in the first place? That's the important question, because all of us are attached to many things. However, the question is why we get attached. And deep down, there is some lack within you. There is some sense of emptiness that you are trying to fulfill with the things or with the people. Now, let me be clear, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't have these things. Okay? I mean, having a nice relationships, nice friends, a good career, all things fine, it's perfect. Nothing wrong with that. However, the problem is the motivations behind those things. Are you acting from a place of lack or from a place of completeness? And we get into a lot of stuff unconsciously just because either we feel lonely or bored, or we want to distract ourselves. And of course, the most obvious way to escape is by drugs. I mean, that's the typical way, no? But that's the most obvious way. However, as I mentioned, you can use anything. You can get addicted to almost anything. And for example, all the things I mentioned at the beginning, your family, pets, your political ideologies, stuff, physical stuff, social media, status, you name it. Doesn't matter. Really, anything can be a source of addiction. And of course, the one very powerful way of feeling attachment is through romantic relationships. So usually that's when you hear the word attachment, it's usually referred to the topic of relationship, that people are needy, or some people is like detached. You heard of these 4 types of attachment styles. But you see, this type of attachment is just one sub case, which is pretty important, because I think that most of us get into relationships because of this sense of lack, because there is something missing within us. And for good or for bad, falling in love is extremely powerful feeling. It's beautiful if you have experienced that, hopefully. So that's extremely addictive. So I think that's the reason why it's so easy for us to get attached to relationships. And moreover, if you look around in maybe your family, your friends, you don't see too many examples of good relationships. Most of relationships are quite dysfunctional in some way or another. So we associate attachment with love. Probably you have heard people that are very jealous. Maybe you're one of them. And somehow this, if you are jealous, means that you love the other person. that's nonsense, as we're going to discover. But that's the problem, that we don't have many examples. So if attachment is the problem, then the question is, how do we get this sense of detachment? And usually the word detachment has a bad connotation, because I want to be clear here that detachment is not indifference. Okay? Let me give you an example, a very maybe silly example, but when kids are on the beach playing and making sandcastles, there are at least three groups of kids. The first group of kids is the one that build the castle, have a lot of fun, but if someone destroys the castle or walks and by mistake destroys the castle of a big wave, destroy it, they get extremely upset, get mad. That's the attachment. There is another group of kids that don't care. They just really don't care. They don't like the playing with castles, whatever, and they don't put any effort. Those are the indifferent. And there's a third group of kids, and this is the group of kids that play. They have a lot of fun. They put the best effort to build a beautiful castle. But then once they have to go back home, it's completely fine. They just leave it there. They know they're completely okay with leaving it there, and that the waves, they will do their thing, and they can build more castles the next day. So that's the detached group. And you may say this is silly, this is just a game, but life is a game after all, and we're going to die anyway, so why not try to experience life in the best way possible? So I want to be clear here with the difference between detachment, which is the absence of attachment, and indifference, which is like apathy, not really caring. And I want to be very clear here, because a lot of people may feel scared of, okay, if I'm detached, that means that I won't love my partner or my kids or whatever, my career. But that's because you are, if you are wondering, that is because you are seeing from the wrong perspective. You have associated love with this sort of pathological way of loving, with attachment. You can love, and you should love. The best form of love is this love that is free, that is completely free and selfless. So that's the objective we want to find, hopefully. So, as I mentioned, detachment is about outcome independence, and that's, I think, the key idea here. Outcome independence, that you will do your best effort to whatever you're doing, your relationships, your career, your passions in life. You are going to live life in the best way possible, but if things don't work, it's fine. You enjoy the game. Again, it's like video game. When you play a video game, that's just a game, and that it doesn't matter in the real world. So that's in a sense, this attitude that I want you to become aware of. Okay. So hopefully you are with me so far. You are agreeing with me. Now the question is, okay, how do I do that? How can I develop this detachment without losing what I feel or my love for the things I'm doing? So I have an exercise for you, and will consist of 2 parts. Okay, so you can listen to it for now, but at least I want you to think of an example of something you feel attached to, that makes you suffer because of this attachment. May give you good things, but also you feel that make you suffer if you don't have it, for example. And for the sake of the example, I will choose, I will assume that I'm attached to my partner, to a partner, and I feel jealous. That's the very typical example. Probably you also can work with this example, but again, you can pick anything you feel very attached. You may be very attached to your career, to your status, to your pet, to your kids, to your family. I don't know, just pick one. And we have to work this attachment from two angles, because you may agree with me, as I was, hopefully you can agree that okay, this is good to be detached or whatever, but this is not enough, because you still feel the negative emotions when you're attached, like jealousy, or I don't know, anger or sadness. So it's not just about an intellectual understanding. So it's also to really go deep to your psyche and to rewire your mind. So that's why this exercise has two parts. The first one is, I call it the mental side of the exercise, and the second one is the emotions side of the exercise. Okay, so let's start. So for the mind side exercise, so you can do it now, or you can set aside a couple of minutes and to be quiet, and hopefully also you grab a sheet of paper on your computer, because I'm going to ask you some questions, and you will ponder about these questions, you will contemplate. I made a video about using writing as a self-development tool. You can check it out. And I mentioned about contemplation, and this will be a contemplation exercise. I'm going to ask you some questions, and you will try to think for a moment and try to come up with honest answers. It's important here to not bullshit yourself, to be very honest, and come up with your deepest answer. Because the thing is, as I was mentioning, a lot of times we get into relationships or activities in an unconscious way, so you may not even aware why you got there in the first place, or what are your fears about this. So this part of the exercise is a little bit more intellectual, so that you can clarify the reasons you are feeling those negative emotions. Okay, so, and I recommend that you grab a couple of questions at a time, because this may take some time. Okay, so ask yourself the following questions. So first, again, I'm supposing that I'm attached to a person, to a partner, and I'm jealous. So I will ask myself, why I'm attached to this person? Why I'm attached to this person, or to the thing, in whatever you choose. So you think for a moment and come up with many answers. Probably a lot of reasons you may find. So the second question is, what do I feel I'm lacking? What do I feel I'm lacking? So by the way, you can check out the newsletter. I have the written version of this video, so you can check the questions there if you forget about them. So you can check in the description. So as I mentioned, the second question is, what do I feel I'm lacking? Remember that attachment comes from a place of emptiness, and something is lacking within you, and you don't want this feeling. It's quite painful, so you avoid it, you distract yourself. So what do I feel I'm lacking? That's the second question. The third question is, what I'm afraid of. And here I made a special video about fear, very in depth about the mechanism of fear and how to eliminate the fear from your life. So again, you can also check it out. But for now, let's ask, what am I afraid of? So I may be afraid of being lonely. I may be afraid of being single forever, not forming a family, of feeling unhappy. So what are you afraid of? That's the third question. The fourth question is, what would happen if they were not with me anymore? Or what if this thing is not present in my life? Thing or idea or whatever, people. So if you are attached to something, it's because you have it in a sense, right? So if you, in this case, I have a partner, I'm jealous, I'm attached to this person. So the question is, what if this person is not with me? What if this person dies or has to go abroad? What would happen? Would I be upset? Probably. Would I suffer? Probably. So try to come up with ideas about what would happen if this person is not present in my life. And by the way, you may already start feeling some emotion if you do this exercise properly, if you really take the time to contemplate, to ponder about these questions really deeply, like not just 5 minutes, really you take the time to, you probably will come up with the emotions, that the fear, the jealousy, and that's good. I mean, that's the idea of the exercise, that those emotions come up to the surface and we can explore these emotions, and that will be part 2 of the exercise. So there's nothing wrong with feeling those emotions by doing this exercise. And the last question, and that's the most important one, is, are you okay with letting this person go right now? Are you okay with letting this person go right now? And here again, you have to be very honest. Don't bullshit yourself. Don't answer the right answer on what you should be answering. No, be completely honest. Probably you will say no, I guess. And for example, again, suppose that your partner has to travel abroad for 1 year to the opposite sides of the world, or a project, work, business, stuff like that, or studying. Would you be okay with that? Yes or no? And that's the ultimate question. And ideally, probably not at the beginning, not right away, but at some point you have to be completely okay with letting this person go. And that's the ultimate goal of the exercise, that you reach this point, at least intellectually. Okay, of course, again, that doesn't mean that you should do that. Of course not. But remember that we're talking about attachment, and to loving without any commitment, in a sense. It's not the right word, like without attachment, without this sense of fear, that you love freely. So being detached doesn't mean that you will ignore the person, as I mentioned. So it's important to keep this in mind. Okay, so when I asking you to, are you okay with letting this person go, doesn't mean that you have to do that, but that if something happens, how would you react against this thing? So that's the question. And another thing that may happen if you do this exercise, especially in the relationship part, but also applies to everything really, is that you may realize that you came to this relationship or to this job, to this career, for the wrong reasons. As I mentioned, You may have um, got into a relationship because you were feeling lonely or bored. I don't know. You want some stimulation, or you may got into a job or a career because I don't know the money, but you didn't like it that much. But now you are trapped into a lifestyle. So that could happen. And again, I'm not telling you that you should do this or that. I mean, that's up to you. But this exercise may uncover some real motivations. And it's important that you are honest with yourself, because otherwise you will suffer even more. You can bullshit yourself all what you want, but this will be more suffering to you. So that's the first part of the exercise. The mental side is a contemplation exercise. Now, the second part is the emotion side of the exercise. So, the goal of this part is to learn to live with the negative emotions and to really understand them. Because if you are like most of us, you hate to feel those negative emotions. You rather escape from those emotions. If you feel jealous, maybe you blame your partner because you're feeling jealous. Or, for example, I used to ignore the other person, try to punish, like being ignore the other person if I felt like unloved or jealous, trying to showing that I don't care. Probably you are like that, or the opposite. You try to blame the partner because you are feeling jealous. So, anyways, whatever negative emotion you feel, you don't like it. You may numb yourself with drugs or with social media, with distractions. But the purpose of this exercise will be to learn to live with it and to really understand it. Okay, so this will be a sort of meditation exercise. So here, in contrast to the previous part where you can do it whatever you want, here you have to feel the emotion. So whenever you feel this intense emotion, this negative emotion, in this case I'm assuming I'm jealous, so whenever I feel jealous, I will try to stop for a moment and to try to again be quiet, hopefully, or to go to a quiet place and try to do this exercise for 5 to 10 minutes. So what you do is the following. So first is to notice the emotion, and for this exercise we will try to not escape from the emotion. So we are going to really go deep and to understand the emotions, to feel it fully. Okay. And as I mentioned, we won't blame others this time or do something bad in a sense. We are going to go within this time. Okay, so that's the first part, to notice the emotion and not blame others. And the second part is to try to meditate the emotion. Okay, what do I mean by that? Is that you are going to put all your attention in whatever you are feeling, and ideally you leave your mind in a different place. You really want to feel the emotion, and because your mind will try to come up with rationalizations like, yeah, he or she shouldn't have done that, is her fault or his fault, or may come up with to shame you or to guilt you, like, yeah, you shouldn't feel like that, this is not rational. I mean, again, you this happened to me quite a lot in the past, probably also to you, that you knew that this jealousy didn't make any sense, but you still feel it. So you may understand completely at a rational level, but that's the purpose of the exercise, because as you see, it's not about rational ideas, it's about going to the emotions, going to your subconscious mind. So that's what we're going to do now. in this exercise. So you meditate in the emotion. That means that you put all your attention in the emotions and you stop listening to your mind for a moment, so you really feel the emotion. And hopefully that I know that sounds maybe masochistic, but you really have to feel the pain, that you have to really that let this emotion to completely penetrate you. Okay. And the main point here is that I want you to become aware that these negative emotions are an opportunity to change. And for some reason, in our society, whenever we feel these negative emotions, we try to escape from them. But as you may see, this is not a good strategy. So what I want you to, at least for one time, or a couple of times hopefully, is that instead of escaping from the emotion, you really feel it and use it as an opportunity to change. Emotions, negative emotions as we call it, they're not negative because, but anyways, these negative emotions are a call to action, to change. So really I want you to reframe these feelings instead of trying to escape from them, trying to go within. That's the purpose of the exercise. So while you are meditating the emotion, after a couple of minutes, that you really let the emotion sink in, and here's the key part. So after you let the emotion go and feel it fully, you're going to ask yourself the following question: is this suffering worth it? And can I let this go? So, is this suffering worth it? Can I let it go? And the trick here is that your conscious mind, I mean, you can't force it, because again, it's an emotion. This is the part where it's your subconscious mind that has to answer, in a sense. And this may sound a little bit weird, like woo-woo nonsense, but the emotion doesn't come from your conscious part, it comes from your subconscious. So really is after you do this exercise and you really sink in the pain and you feel it fully, you ask yourself, to your subconscious mind, does this makes any sense? I'm suffering, please stop. And maybe your subconscious mind will pay attention, with answer positively, or maybe not. So how do you know if this works or not? Is that after a couple of minutes, after you ask this question, after you let your emotions, after you feel the emotion fully, you will feel a sense of relief, and the negative emotion will disappear fully, and you will feel a sense of peace. So if that's happened, that means that the exercise was successful. But it may take you a couple of times of doing this exercise to work. So don't be discouraged if it doesn't work the first time. Again, the idea of the exercise is to use pain, psychological pain, as a tool for personal growth, which personally I think that is extremely valuable tool for growth that usually is not mentioned that much. But I think the reason is because it's painful. But on the other hand, you can really learn and reward your mind by doing this sort of exercise. So this can be applied really any time, whenever you feel a negative emotion. Here we are using in the context of attachment, but can be applied at any time. Whenever you feel this very intense negative emotion, instead of trying to escape from it, instead of trying to numb yourself, instead of trying to blame others, you go within and you let your emotion completely penetrate you, and after a while you will feel so, I mean, this will be feel quite uncomfortable, right? You may cry, you may, I don't know, whatever. That's perfectly fine. And at some point you ask yourself, can I let this go? And maybe your subconscious mind will surrender, and you will feel a deep sense of peace. And if you do this exercise, I mean, of course, even if it works, doesn't mean that your attachment will be completely dissolved. This will take you several times, but over many different times, so you do this exercise repeatedly, you hopefully you will start to notice that your intense emotions will be less and less, until, and this is something that can happen, I'm not joking, is that you may reach a point after doing this that you stop feeling attachment at all, and you stop feeling the jealousy at all. So personally, I done this method, so, and it worked for me, so I'm not bullshitting you. I mean, this is really it worked. Again, can be quite painful, so I really encourage you to take it easy, because it's very easy to get overwhelmed by these negative emotions. But the reason I'm talking about this method is because that's the way I use it. There were a time not so long ago where I experienced a lot of psychological pain, and really I did this, I mean, I didn't do it consciously necessarily, but really, instead of escaping from the emotion, I start to go within and to feel it, and at some point it gets so painful that you cannot just take it anymore, and your subconscious mind says, okay, I give up. So give it a try. I know it's not comfortable, but you will grow immensely if you apply this exercise. And again, take it easy, don't go all in. And the last thing I want to mention is that sometimes just talking with someone can be also very useful. And if you are having trouble with this exercise too much, you can leave a comment, and I want to listen to you, because for me really this became extremely important once I learned by myself to deal with those negative emotions, and by doing those exercises it literally changed my life, and I believe that anyone can change their life too. So I'm really willing to, and I want to help you to rewire your mind and to master your emotions. Doesn't mean that I don't feel negative emotions anymore, but it's a different place. You learn to live with them, and you stop putting in unnecessary suffering. You still feel the whole range of emotions, but you don't take it too personally if you do this properly. So that's it. If you like the video, leave a like, subscribe, and check out the newsletter also on Medium. There is the written version of the article where you can check the questions again if it wasn't clear, the process. And that's it. I want to help you to master your emotions, to understand your psychology, and really self-actualize. True self-actualization is about doing the practice, knowing the concept, of course, that's important, but ultimately you have to do the work. And yeah, it can be painful, it can be difficult, but I don't want you to do it alone. That's why we are here, to do it together. And yeah, that's it for today. Hope to see you in the next video.